Girly pops. It is officially wedding season. Yes, yes. And in the past, I have talked a lot about millennial weddings and how over the top, influencer-y, Emily in Paris-esque they can all be. But now Gen Z is finally at that age where they're starting to get married. And just like the millennials did, they have their own wedding trends that are super controversial, and the girlies are fighting. So today we're going to explore the world of Gen Z wedding trends. Let's go. And before you guys ask, yes, I whipped out my real wedding dress. And also, yes, I will be itchy this entire video. I am so itchy. Chapter 1, what is a Gen Z wedding? So my previous videos about millennial weddings, we've talked about how millennial weddings is like this main character syndrome influencer weddings. Millennial weddings are very Instagrammable. They look like a Pinterest board. You feel like you're walking into a royal celebrity Kardashian wedding despite everyone in the room having $200K of student loan debt. They want to make sure that they can post their wedding photos every single month for the next 20 years on Facebook, okay? That's how I would describe a millennial wedding. Gen Z, on the other hand, is a lot less of the Instagram wedding and a lot more of this candid celebration of us wedding. It's a lot less of a traditional party for the guests and a lot more a celebration of the bride and groom and their personality. Let me show you a few examples of what I mean. Controversial things we did on our wedding day. No alcohol. We believe you don't need alcohol to have fun, and neither of us drink, so we chose to do a coffee bar instead. Early send-off. We left about 8 p.m. Your wedding day is exhausting, so it's totally normal to not want to party all night long. Basic foods. We aren't fancy eaters, so we chose chicken tenders and easy sides. It was so good and all of our guest plates were clean. And then we have this couple here who explains the rules to their wedding.
Things we're not doing at our wedding. No alcohol. Yeah, we don't drink, and we honestly just don't want anybody else drinking there either, and we don't want to pay for it.
We actually just want people to remember the night.
Probably only going to have vegan options. Because it's our wedding, I want it to feel like a celebration of us. I want people to like have a glimpse into our life, and I just feel like having food that we like and we eat there just makes the most sense. We're also not gonna have our wedding on a weekend because it's so much more expensive to book on a weekend. This one I don't think is super controversial, but we're doing no kids and no plus ones. We're both not very social people, and we don't want to feel uncomfortable at our own wedding. We want it to just be very intimate. We haven't really talked about this, but I don't really want to do a first look. I kind of want his first reaction to be when I walk down the aisle. But yeah, we want a day that's a celebration of us. Our goal is to not throw the best party ever. It's to literally just celebrate who we are and who we are as a couple.
I'm gonna be honest, this low-key a flex. These are the type of events that I feel like Bruce Wayne's parents attended, you know? I feel like these people's attention spans, pristine. Like, do you know how mentally strong you have to be to sit through a weekday dry vegan ballet wedding? Okay? Like, I bet that these people can raw dog a 3-hour flight to Florida without any headphones, okay? And that's a dying art. Now that's a real flex right there. So yeah, that's pretty much sums up the whole Gen Z wedding trend of it's not a party, it's celebrating us trend. The controversial argument here is that yes, it's amazing that we are now celebrating the bride and groom. We're throwing away traditions that don't work for people. Like, that's all amazing. But in efforts to make the wedding more about the bride and groom, a lot of times we are taking away from the guest experience and then reallocating those to like things that only benefit the bride and groom. And that has kind of just set off some controversy and a lot of discussion on whether or not that's good or bad. Like, we're taking away alcohol and food and plus ones and kids and all that, and then having guests travel on a Wednesday to a destination and then spending a bunch of money on like an extravagant bachelorette party. You know, like the math isn't always mathing. Usually I come to these videos with like a thesis and like a lot of opinions, but today we're just gonna treat this like a community review, and we're just gonna explore all these Gen Z trends. Emphasis on the word trends. I know this is not a representation of every single Gen Z wedding, okay? These are just trends. So me and Bryce were waiting for this wedding video to say this, but me and Bryce have been cooking something up in the oven, and it's definitely not vegan. Welcome to the world, baby. Just kidding. I'm not pregnant, but I almost was because I let my birth control expire for over a year. I just kept pushing it off because I have anxiety about the healthcare system and our family gynecologist ghosted me. And that's where our sponsor of the day, Zocdoc, comes in. With Zocdoc, finding a doctor that will take my insurance was super easy and straightforward. I just go to their website, I put in my insurance, and they find doctors for me that will take my insurance. From there, I can browse, look at reviews, check availability, and pick a provider that is the right one for me. They have more than 150,000 providers across 200 different specialties in all 50 states. And if you have social anxiety like me, you don't even need to call any mean receptionist, okay? You can just make your appointment online and start prioritizing your health. Look, when our family gynecologist ghosted me, I just wanted someone that could be my area, who was readily available, was a woman, and I found someone within that week and was able to get my birth control switched out that week as well. And as your big sister, I'm here to tell you, we need to be getting our regular pap smears, our regular eye exams, our regular dental cleanings. And if you're like me and you're on Nexplanon or any birth control, we need to be getting this stuff renewed from time to time. So if you would like to check out Zocdoc, go ahead and click the link in the description down below, or go to Zocdoc.com/becauseI'mmissy to get started. Thank you so much, Zocdoc, for sponsoring today's video and helping us prioritize our health. And let's get back to the content. Chapter 2, Dry Weddings. So the biggest controversy with Gen Z weddings, I have to say, is this dry wedding trend. So Gen Z is opting for no alcohol at their weddings, but not for religious purposes, but because they want to save money, and also they want their guests to remember the wedding without being under the influence. Also, alcohol consumption is a lot lower with Gen Z than any other generation, and they seem to care a lot less about drinking than other previous generations. So it makes sense to me why celebrating the bride and groom and having no alcohol would be a thing for them. But of course, this spun a lot of controversy because then guests are complaining, and then we have people that make these types of TikToks.
And you know what's cringe for me when I as a bride getting married in 50 days, we're paying for our own wedding. When you go on TikTok and you're like, oh, ways to save money on your wedding. And it's always the alcohol. I get it. Alcohol is expensive. But like I said, you know what's cringe? When you show up to a wedding, you could tell they spent bread. The venue is gorgeous. It's a beautiful venue. The flowers are gorgeous. I see $1,000 arch right in front of me. Right? The centerpieces are beautiful, right? It is just so much going on. And then there's no past hors d'oeuvres. There's not a large selection of alcohol, let alone no alcohol. I've never been at a wedding where there's no alcohol, but no alcohol. Oh, and they got 10 bridesmaids lined up. That's fucking cringe.
And then we had these creators talk about how alcohol is super expensive and we don't want people to be belligerently drunk and not remembering the wedding that you paid for. Why is having a dry wedding controversial? I don't drink, my hubby doesn't drink, why would I spend money on something I don't benefit from when I'm already spending a ton on a wedding? And then for some people to say, I'm not going to a wedding if it's dry. Sorry, I want someone I cared about with me to celebrate love without alcohol.
I know y'all apparently hate to hear this, but the whole dry wedding cash bar argument truly boils down to, can you go one night without drinking for someone that you care about? And if the answer is no, then you're either an alcoholic or you don't care about this person as much as you claim you do. Because to be honest, I really haven't seen a bad reason to have a dry wedding or a cash bar. Chances are they either can't afford it or they don't want people belligerent drunk.
I totally understand the arguments for wanting to have a dry wedding, and if you can pull it off, more power to you. And as we've seen with the Utah videos, I guess it is technically possible to get white girl wasted with 500 milligrams of caffeine. And I also get that you don't want to pay $3,000 just for your drunk uncle to take 3 shots and then start flashing the waitress during the cake cutting ceremony. But I will say that if you do want the people at your wedding to remember your wedding fondly, I fear we're gonna need alcohol. I fear that for most people, if you have a dry wedding, the only thing that they're gonna remember about your wedding is that it was a dry wedding. We're gonna have people pre-gaming in the parking lot as if this is some high school homecoming party. Also, just imagine your boy, unemployed, aspiring podcaster cousin sober after 8 p.m. Do you think he has anything of substance to say? Like, look, we could either give Desmond 3 shots of tequila and he's doing the worm on the dance floor and being fun, or he could be sober and arguing with your SJW cousin Samantha about the Iran war. Chapter 3, private everything. So another Gen Z wedding trend I've seen is just making the wedding super, super, super private. For example, we have this couple here who did a private vow and cake cutting ceremony. New one for private vows. We chose to keep them private so the words felt even more sacred. Had a private cake cutting. We did not want to announce our cake cutting and only did it in private with our parents. Girl, look. I understand not wanting to be perceived and wanting it to be special and not wanting to feel like a zoo animal, okay? But girl, it gets to a point. Like, I guess I'm just a little confused on if this was supposed to be a sacred, private thing. Then why did we invite Aunt Susie to fly in from Michigan? What are you guys possibly doing during your ceremonies where it needed to be this private? You guys reading off haikus about your Donkey Kong sex you've had since you were 18 together? Is the cake cutting ceremony the groom eating the bride's cake? If you were to tell me 3 years ago today that the guy that ate my ass like a cupcake would be my husband, I would not have believed you. Like, I guess at that point, girl, maybe it should have been private. I guess you were right. Here's another example of celebrating the couple at the guest expense. This video says 6 speeches lasted 1 hour and 12 minutes. It's 9:38 p.m. and no food yet. I get it. We want to celebrate the couple. We want to have the bride's little sister come up and talk about how they brushed each other's hair and how they watched Barbie, Princess of the Popper together, and now she's with her new prince. I get that we want to hear those stories. But girl, if it's past the length of the State of the Union, I fear that we're gonna need at least some breadsticks. Beyonce's halftime show was 12 minutes long, okay? So if we're gonna go 1 hour over that, I'm gonna need to see some twerking. This is longer than the length of a Game of Thrones episode, all right? I'm gonna need to see betrayal, twists and turns, perhaps some incestual relationships, all right? At least. Another one of these newer like wedding trends is called no ring, no bring. We talked a little bit about this in the millennial wedding and it's just gotten more popular with Gen Z. No ring, no bring. If you're not married or engaged, you don't get a +1. We're not paying $200 for a stranger. And then this one says, no +1s unless they're serious. Only inviting long-term partners, not casual dates. And then this creator talks about why she believes in the no ring, no bring rule.
I'm very firmly in the no ring, no bring camp. And that doesn't mean like never. Like if someone is living with someone, then that's counting. If they're life partners, if they own a dog together, like all of those things, then I think you should consider them a serious relationship where they are invited as a couple. But if it's your single friend who just wants to bring someone for fun that they, either just met or have been dating for like a couple of months, especially if they have never even gone on a double date with you, then no.
So I understand this rule in that you don't want your random, annoying, toxic family members to bring some rando and you don't know how they're gonna act throughout the wedding, okay? Go ahead and tell Desmond that he can't bring his 2 19-year-old girls that he's been in a throuple with for the past 2 years. But personally, I just really struggled to see the logic behind this one. Like, we can't drink, we're eating vegan food, we can't watch the vows, and now we can't have a +1 to dance to Ed Sheeran with. It would just take so much work to determine whether or not someone is serious enough with someone to accept them to come to your wedding. Oh yeah, Baylor and Abigail, they've been together for only 2 months. But they do butt stuff and they binge watch every episode of Grey's Anatomy together. So I guess they're serious. Sarah and Jeremiah, they've been together for 10 years, but one of them is Team Jacob and the other one is Team Edward. So I guess they're not serious enough to come to my wedding. Couples who haven't done poop stuff, don't even bother. Okay, you're not close, you're not serious enough for this wedding. I also don't really understand, like, oh, we want to be surrounded by love, so we're only gonna invite people that are married or committed. Like, you guys know damn well that nobody hates each other more than your aunt and uncle that have been married for 30 years with 2 kids in college, okay? Desmond and his 19-year-old situationship that banged in the Panera bathroom the other day, they probably have more chemistry than your aunt and uncle at this point. Chapter 4, non-traditional wedding venues. So another trend I've seen with Gen Z is throwing out any tradition, especially with the venue, and doing a wedding that suits more of the bride and groom. A trend that I have seen personally and on TikTok is the silent disco wedding. This is a trend that started with like the younger millennials and kind of just kept going with Gen Z. Usually these silent disco weddings are in a forest preserve or somewhere in nature, so there are noise ordinances. So to combat that, people will wear like these headphones that's tuned to a specific radio frequency where everyone can listen to the same music and you're just dancing silently. The neighborhood had a noise ordinance past 11 p.m., so we rented a silent disco headphones that connected to my DJ controller and we extended the party. Here was a magical moment of everyone singing Piano Man for the last song of the night. You know, at a certain point, is this even like abiding the sound ordinance? Because we got 100 white people yelling Killer's lyrics top of their lungs. I'm sorry, this looks like something straight out of a horror movie. This looks like the type of shit they would do before they sacrifice like the foreskin of their firstborn sons to save Earth or something. This feels like a scene from a dystopian fantasy movie about communism, where like they just took away music and now we're listening to it like it's prohibition or something. Like, just imagine attending this wedding and like wanting to have a conversation with someone. It'd be like the most annoying, inconvenient thing ever. Just tequila. Wait, what? Derek, how's your dead grandma? In the same vein as the silent disco weddings, another trend that I have personally witnessed and have seen on TikTok is the camping/hiking wedding. These are weddings where the bride and groom will make their wedding guests and wedding staff hike in order to get to their wedding venue. POV, you make your wedding guests hike an hour into your wedding venue. You leave little coolers full of water and electrolytes to hydrate your guests on their way up. And then we had this bride who made her guest hike up a volcano. Pre-wedding activities, but it's just hiking a volcano with your guests the day before your wedding. At this point, when are we gonna have cave diving weddings? When are we gonna have haunted house weddings? Look, I love this for you if you're a hiker, if everyone that you know is a hiker, everyone enjoys hiking to your wedding, okay? And you get to save hella money because this is like the cheapest wedding venue you could possibly have. I think the elephant in the room here is that older people or disabled people, kids, anyone with any type of health condition are probably not able or don't want to hike up an hour up a volcano. Like, even young, able-bodied, healthy people, this would kind of just be like super hard on your body. Like, you really think that Tyler, that's worked in HR for 5 years, who hasn't done agility training since Nintendogs in 2005, is gonna hike up a volcano for an hour and not blow out both of his knees? These are the types of questions they be asking on Love is Blind to gauge like how old and how fat someone is. How do you feel about hiking an hour up a volcano for a wedding? Like, do you think that your knees would explode because you're over 30? Or do you think that you would run out of breath an hour in? Also, I think it's obvious that most vendors are not gonna be able to attend this wedding. So you're pretty much limited to your brother and his boyfriends to hopefully bring up the Chipotle in a cooler, and hopefully everything still stays good. And of course, another really big trend that I've seen that really started with the millennials and just kept going with Gen Z is the infamous destination wedding. This woman is upset that her friends and family members did not want to go to her destination wedding, which was, wait for it, a Disney cruise.
Once you start planning or booking your wedding or having your wedding, you find out who your real friends are really fast. And yeah, so today I booked my wedding. I reserved everything and booked it, and I'm really, really excited. It is a destination wedding. Let me just be clear, everyone knew that was going to be a destination wedding to begin with. So I texted some of my close friends and I told them, I was like, it's happening. Like, I'm excited, right? Finally, I've been engaged for 4 years. Like, I have waited a long time. I've saved money. Like, I'm excited. And most of my friends are totally excited. They're like, girl, it's been a long time coming. And then I was responded with some people saying, oh, this is what you went with kind of thing. Like, oh, so this is actually happening.
So yeah, since she posted this video, it got a lot of backlash and she has now deleted the video and I unfortunately can't find the full video. But let me show you guys what a Disney cruise entails, okay? The cheapest and shortest Disney cruise that you can possibly do is 3 nights for $1,700 if you start in Florida. So if you aren't in Florida, you know, I'm a Chicago girly, I'm gonna have to fly 3 hours to go to Florida to attend this wedding, okay? In this economy. And again, the cheapest is $1,700 and these span to like $3,000, $4,000. Look, I'm not saying that destination weddings are bad, okay? I respect it. I think destination weddings are beautiful. My issue though is I never understand the people that want a destination wedding and then they come out on TikTok and cry and they're surprised that people don't want to use half their PTO and $2,000 to go on their fucking wedding cruise. You really think people are gonna be out here and be like, have Thanksgiving and Christmas off? Or use my PTO for Kaylee and Baylor's Disney extravaganza cruise. Take their Euro trip I've been saving up for 3 years, or eat goulash beignets with Kaylee's felon uncle for 4 days. Like, gee, I wonder which one people are going to pick. And another question I have is like, why is this the wedding? Why is this not the honeymoon? Like, are we that desperate to consummate our marriage on the same boat as your third cousin that you've only seen twice in your life since 2012? Chapter 5, crazy bachelorette parties. So look, Gen Z might be pulling back on the alcohol, the food, the plus ones, all that good stuff, okay? But something they're not pulling back on are these bachelor and bachelorette parties. So according to this article from The Knot, bachelorette parties are just insane these days. And this is, again, another trend that started with the millennials that has just continued with Gen Z. These bachelorette parties span multiple days, the average day being 2 to 3 nights. And it's a lot more common for these bachelorette parties to have travel. Trends are showing that there is a lot more long distance driving, flying, renting out Airbnbs. These are all becoming more and more popular. And on top of the multi-day travel expenses, now there's a lot more random expenses for these bachelorette parties. We have swag bags, professional photo shoots, gifts for the bride, alcohol, expensive restaurants, more events. Bachelorette parties are becoming like a week of just expensive, extravagant experiences with like 10 different women on them. This creator talks about how she went on a multi-day Disney bachelorette party and how all these expenses are just normal these days. Airbnb, $300, flight, $300, park tickets, $275, goodie bags, $50, Ohana dinner, $75, hibachi dinner, $66, other food, $100, alcohol, $50, Ubers, $100. And all of this adds up to about $1,300 minimum. You guys are asking your bridal party to spend like a rent payment on $20 Tinkerbell margaritas and wearing matching t-shirts in the Disney parks. Like, it's just so f***ing crazy to me. Like, is this a f***ing gang bonding initiation event? I spent my car payment on a Ohana dinner for you. I spent my Botox money on a Maestro Mickey themed Airbnb for you. Now that's true Ohana, you guys. And then we have this bride here who's talking about the transparency of the cost for her bachelorette party. And this is how much they spent on this 4-day bachelorette party, okay? Airbnb, $320. Dinner, $135. Boat day, $190. Dinner at Airbnb, $70. Saturday night transportation, $15. Saturday night out, $90. Groceries and Airbnb drinks, $100. Airport transport, $40. Extra food, $30. And then she talked about how the average person on this bachelorette trip spent between $1,600 to $1,800. I don't know what is crazier, like spending $1,600 on a bachelorette party, or everyone in the comment section agreeing with this and saying that this is perfectly normal. I don't understand these people. Like, do you guys just magically become rich once someone gets married? The exact moment that Sarah got engaged, Miranda's student loans got forgiven. Emily's feet pics start getting traction on Instagram. I don't know, like, would you spend $1,600 going to any city in the world, or going to Nashville and wearing pink plastic hats and sipping margaritas out of a sippy dicky? Bitch, I am telling you, I would have like so much PTSD from being in one of these bachelorette group chats. Every time you get a hey girly text in a bachelorette group chat, it's like waiting for your STD test at a Planned Parenthood, okay? You just never know what bomb you're about to get. Overall, I really, really do like Gen Z wedding trends. I love the idea of throwing out tradition and opting for more things that make more sense for the bride and groom, and not having to have a crazy over-the-top influencer-y wedding. There is no inherently wrong wedding. Like, you can have your camping, silent disco, vegan wedding on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. and it's not inherently wrong. But, okay, I do think it is unrealistic for you to have these non-traditional weddings and then expect your guests to just take it and not complain and talk shit about it on TikTok. If you're going to invite guests and they have to travel and spend their time, money, and effort to attend your wedding, they are also entitled to their opinions. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let me know your wedding stories in the comment section down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!